The stupidity of fighting. The stupidity of fighting. Well, and I'm not talking. You can let's balance something out, right? You got a street fight, and then you got combat sports. Now, often there's a lot of blurring territory. An example of that would be either MMA or boxing, where you're allowing, or kickboxing, or Muay Thai, or Lethwei, or even full contact Kyokushinkai, where you're allowing any form of combat sport where there's full contact blows to the head. This is the blurring territory. Now, okay, there's rules to this, there's referees, but also the fighters fighting usually tend to kick and punch and strike a lot harder than the average person does. But they're not going to kick you for 5 minutes in the skull afterwards whilst you're unconscious. So it's, but the outcome is the same, brain damage. You know, most young men, including me and my infinite stupidity, certainly, not most young men, maybe that's the wrong statement, most martial artists at some point have either, especially the young men, have either considered full contact fighting or done it. Alright? And when they've done it, their biggest reward is, don't get me wrong, they haven't made any money out of it, they're too stupid for that. I mean, and also it's not easy to make money out of full contact fighting. You have to go through ranking systems. Certainly with boxing, to get real money, you have to do an awful lot. The same with MMA, there's very little money in it until you get a very, very big name for yourself. But maybe the same with kickboxing and Muay Thai. You've got to have a name, you've got to be able to put up a fight, But your big reward is this: when you get into your mid-30s, you're going to start developing, especially if you've had a lot of full contact fights and you've been banged around, you'll develop something called TBI, or traumatic brain injury. You may not, but I tell you now, most fighters do. They just don't know that they've got it. And it manifests in mental health issues. This is why statistically 40%, and people can correct me if my numbers are wrong, but it's a huge percentage, of boxers have mental health issues. It's not because they started with mental health issues. They might have done, but certainly getting punched in the head and having all your neurological pathways and getting damaged and then a brain scar, and certainly has helped that form. Those illnesses develop. Have I experienced it? Yeah, I still experience mental health issues due to traumatic brain injury. I'll show you a good example. See this here? That goes in, that one comes out. Yeah? See that dent in? Yeah, if you want one of them, keep doing full contact fighting, all you young fighters, and seriously, don't do it. You're not unless you're getting paid for it. What the hell are you doing? Certainly, if you're planning to go to university or do your A levels or whatever it is, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you playing at? The brain is for thinking, not for getting whacked. It's like you got to weigh it up a bit. You got to, because when you're young, you think you're invincible. You're not frightened of impact or trauma or these things because you don't believe it's going to apply to you. I always knew it would apply to me. I always knew it was going to. And the majority of my severe head injuries came from situations I couldn't avoid. One was an accident, and then I'll talk about some of these fight situations in other videos, and some was from fights, and there was certainly a period, in a very short period whilst I was in my first year of university, of 3 events that were all in a chain of one another within about 6 weeks of one another that could not be avoided. I just didn't see it coming. Maybe it could have been avoided, but it would have been certainly I didn't see it coming. There were conditions that had you not done them, but you could only say those conditions with hindsight. But do you want to have mental health issues when you're older? Do you want to have issues around that? Then protect your brain if you don't want them. And mental health issues can be anything from mild to severe. It can be like my biggest symptom is post-traumatic stress. I shake, and I don't know when this is going to start or what. It's normally stress triggers it, and I start this compulsive shaking, and I eat loads to try and stop the shaking, which does work. Then I just want to sleep for the rest of the day, which is not very good. And then I end up with I waste a day in frustration, and then my circadian rhythm is messed up, so I then have mood swings. Well, not mood swings, but like sort of mood swings, anxiety swings with disrupted sleep. No, there's lots of reasons not to get hit in the head, and that's a really good one. And you don't need to be a professional boxer to get those kind of problems. In fact, you don't even need to be an amateur boxer. In fact, you don't even need to regularly fight. You only need to get whacked in the head a few times. That'll do it for you, you know. But obviously people who regularly fight end up with a lot more of it. So yeah, we're going to be talking a bit more about brain injuries and how they're affecting you and that in other videos.